everybody, it's Caitlin, and today I'm going to be teaching you some origami designs. First starting with a cat face, then a box, and then a paper crane. I hope you get some entertainment out of this, and you should have been sent PDFs along with the video to follow along with. Hey everyone, so today we'll be doing some origami. What you'll first need to do some origami is a square piece of paper. If you don't have a square piece of paper, that's okay. It's very easy to make your own. You can start with just some regular printer paper, 8x11, and you're going to take one corner and fold it over to make a triangle sort of at the top. So you're going to make sure that that far left corner goes so that it's nice and flush with the right side, and you're going to make a triangle. What I'm doing is making sure my crease is nice and folded, which will be super necessary when we do our origami later. So now that I have this shape with this triangle, I'm just going to take my scissors and cut off that overhanging rectangle. Once I have those two pieces separated, I should have that rectangle and a triangle. When I open up the triangle, I should have a perfect square. Now, if I want to make my paper more fun, I can decorate it at this point. So right now I'm just coloring it some different colors to make it more exciting, but you can also decorate it after the origami pattern has been completed. We'll be doing that in the first origami that we do. And there you have it, your own personal handmade origami paper. The first design that we'll be making is a cat face. You can see that I have two examples laid out in front of you. We're going to start with a square piece of origami paper. I have one that is green on one side and white on the other side, so that you'll be able to tell which side I'm working on. It's okay if you have to pause the video at any time or rewind to catch the steps again. That's perfectly normal when learning, and you also have the PDF to follow along with. So first I'm starting on the back side, this white side of paper, and I'm folding the top corner over to the bottom corner to make a triangle and cut this square in half. I'm making sure that my folds are nice and creased so that they're perfect and good to use. Also, I messed up a little bit, so I went back and changed the crease a little bit. That's totally okay to do. It's just a folded piece of paper. You can redo it and it shouldn't do any harm to your overall design. So once I have that triangle, I'm going to start by taking that left corner and folding it over to the bottom corner. And then I'm going to do the same thing with the right corner. By doing this, I'm making a square. Here is the finished product of making those two folds. I have this nice square with a crease in the middle. And then now I'm going to start working on the ears of my cat. So I'm taking that left flap that I had previously folded over and folding it back over itself. As you can see, I'm not folding it right to where that corner is on the square, but a little bit below to make the ears. I'm doing the same thing on the right side. And then you can, if you flip it over, you can see how it kind of looks like ears. Next, I'm going to take that top piece of the origami and fold it down over itself to make a flat head. I checked it on the side to make sure that it was nice and even, and you can see the ears popping out, so it's nice and even. And then to help us with the next fold, I'm going to fold the bottom part up, and then I'm going to unfold it. This will just help with our next fold. So now we're going to use that line that we used to fold the opposite way and fold it up towards itself to make the mouth and snout area of the cat. Finally, I'm going to take that top part of this corner and fold it over itself to make the nose. And here we have the completed cat face before decoration. Now I'm just gonna go in with my marker and start coloring in the nose, putting in the mouth, whiskers, and eyes to make the finished product of the cat. And here is the finished product. Next, we're going to be making a simple box. So again, I'll be starting with a square piece of origami paper, and we're going to be flipping it over onto its back to start. Then we'll take that top corner and fold it down over to the bottom corner. I'm making sure my creases are nice and folded before continuing on to the next step. The next step will have me take the right corner and fold it over to meet the left corner of the triangle, the two top corners, and folding down to make a triangle with a 90-degree angle in that right corner. Next, I'll be pulling up this right flap that I just folded over, as you can see, and opening it up. I'm opening it up and smushing it down, and I'm doing this, and I'm going to be making a square out of it, as you can see. This is what the finished product of that fold should look like, and we're going to be doing the same thing on the other side. I like to fold this flap over all the way to the left side before pulling it straight up to make this smushing and opening process easier. So I'm folding it down again, pressing it down from the center to smush that piece of paper to make a square. So now we should have a square where the bottom part has an open flap where you can see the inner workings of the foldings, and the top should be all together. We're going to take this design and turn it 180 degrees so that those open flaps are at the top. We're next going to start by taking that left side of the square and folding it over to the center crease. We're then going to do the same thing on the right side. We're only taking that top layer, so you should be able to see the bottom layer at the underneath. And then we'll be doing the same thing with that the top layer and folding that down to meet the other two corners at the center. We'll then be doing the same thing on the other side. So this is what the finished product should look like. We should have those two sort of prongs at the top, and we have the folded over so you don't see anything underneath. So we're going to take this right side now and fold it over like turning the page of a book to the left side, so that you should have 3 layers on the left side and 1 layer on the right side. We're then going to flip the whole thing over and do the same thing where we take that right page and turn it over to turn the next page of the book. Now we're going to take the top little triangle half of this design and fold it over to make a horizontal line at the top. We're then going to be doing the same thing on the other side. Now that this is done on both sides, we're going to do the same thing that we did before, taking that right side and turning the page over to the left side so that there are 3 layers on the left and 1 layer on the right, and then flipping that whole thing over and doing the same thing so that the right side turns the page over to the left. So now we should have 2 triangle flaps, one on the left and one on the right. I'm going to start with the right one, and I'm going to open it up, as you can see, and press down on the center to smush it into a diamond shape. And I'll be doing the same thing on the left side where I pull that flap up, open it up with my finger, and then press down on it, smush it down to be a diamond shape. We'll then be flipping over the whole thing and doing the same thing on the other side. After those steps, this is what the finished product should look like. We're then going to take those diamond shapes that we just made and fold the outer side of it over itself to cut it in half. As you can see, I'm taking that part and folding it in on itself. So it should be flat on the outside. I'm doing the same thing on this right side. So I'm taking that outside part and folding it over behind the larger design. And then I'm going to flip over the design and do the same thing. So now we should have this shape, which kind of looks like an upside down pentagon. We're then going to be taking this top part that we have and folding it over. There should be a natural part where you can't fold over anymore, and that's where you'll make the crease. And then we'll be doing the same thing on the other side. You're just taking that top layer and folding it over. So in the end, we should have these two little white rectangles at the top. So now we'll be doing the same thing that we did before, taking that right side and turning the page, folding it over the left side. So we'll have 3 layers on the left and 1 layer on the right. Then we'll be flipping the whole thing over and doing the same thing again, so that we fold the right side over the left and have 2 layers on each side. Then we'll do the same thing and take that top part and fold it over to match the other fold that we did before. And we'll take that top part again once we flip it over and match the levels of the other layers so that it all should be at 1 layer at the top. So now we just have to open our box up and we'll be finished. So I carefully pull the pieces open and press on the bottom of the box to flatten out the bottom and make our traditional box. And here you have our finished product, a simple origami box. The final design I'll be doing is a paper crane. I know 2 ways of doing this. One's a little bit simpler because it takes less folds, but they both start out the same way, so I'll be showing you that first. We'll be starting out with a square piece of origami paper, and we'll be taking that top corner and folding it down over the bottom corner to make a triangle. We're going to make sure our creases are nice and folded. This is really important when we start getting into pieces with a lot more folds. We'll then be taking that right corner and folding it over the left upper corner of the triangle. So now we have this triangle where the right corner is a right angle, and then we'll be taking this top flap, just as we did with the box that we made, opening it up and smushing it down to be creating the square. We'll then flip the whole thing over and do the same thing on the other side, where we take the top flap, open it up, and smush it down. Again, I like to take this top flap and fold it all the way over to the left side before opening it up, because I think it makes this next part of opening it up and smushing it down a lot easier. So I'm just making sure that all of my creases are nice and folded, really pressed down, and again we have this open part at the bottom, the closed part at the top, and then we'll be making some folds now that will help guide us for a later fold that we'll be making. So I'm taking that right side and making sure the whole outside part is lined up against the center crease of my square, like so. I'm then folding the whole top over, that whole triangle top over the folded parts, and then I'm opening it back up. I'm then taking just the top layer of this square and opening it up, and hopefully because of these folds it should naturally fold over itself, and we'll be pressing that part down into a diamond shape. This part is a bit tricky, so if you need to pause it and rewind it, there's no issue with that. But basically, you're taking those outside corners of the square and pushing them in on each other so that they create that center crease of the diamond. Again, I'll show you kind of how I did it, but I'm making sure that those creases are nice and folded. I'm then going to flip the whole thing over and do the same exact thing on this side. So I'm making those folds again that I'm going to reopen to make sure that I have an easier time making the diamond shape. So I'm doing those folds and then I will continue on to make the diamond. So I'm taking that top layer again and folding it in on itself to create a diamond. As you can see, I'm kind of having difficulty with this. I had to make some adjustments to make sure that this diamond lined up with the diamond that I made on the other side, because it's really necessary for these two diamonds to be even to make sure that the shape of the crane comes out correctly. So now we reached the point where the paper crane can go one of two ways, one a little bit simpler and one a little bit more complicated, but both have those same previous steps that lead up till this point. I'm going to be starting with the simpler version of the crane. I'm going to start by taking the right side of this diamond and folding it over like a piece of paper to the left side of the diamond so that there's 3 layers on one side and 1 layer on the other. I'm then flipping the whole thing over and doing the same thing. Now I've created what I like to call like a fox face or something like that, because you can kind of see the ears and the pointed snout. I'm then going to open the mouth of that fox face and pull it up and fold it over. This will eventually be either the head or the tail of the paper crane. So I'm opening that mouth to be the height that I want the head or tail to be. I'll flip over the whole thing and do the same thing on the other side. Again, I'm going to take this right side and turn it over like a book and flatten the whole thing out. So there's 3 layers on one side, 1 layer on the right side. And then I'm going to flip the whole thing over and do the same thing again. Next, I'm going to take the small little pieces that I've created by opening that fox's mouth and pulling them out so you can see them. Pulling them out from within the design that we've made. So then one will be the tail and one will be the head. I'm then going to take one side and fold it over itself to make a little crane head. Now all I have to do is open up the wings of the bird. I like to fold them down over themselves just so that they stay more open. And there you have it, the simple version of the paper crane. Now we're going to move on to the other version of a paper crane. This one's a little bit more difficult because it has more folds. First, we're going to take that left corner of the diamond and fold it over so that its outside is flush against the middle crease. We'll be doing the same thing on the right side, where you take that outside corner and fold it to meet it up with the center of the diamond crease. Essentially what we are doing is making a skinnier diamond. We'll be doing the same thing on the other side with the bottom flaps of this side. So we're going to take the whole thing, flip it over, and do the same thing that we did before. Now that we've gotten to this point, you should have two like little leg type things at the bottom. What we're going to do is make some folds that will help us later. So we're going to fold that left side up all the way to the top and unfold it. And we'll do the same thing on the right side before flipping the whole thing over and doing the same thing. So folding that left like piece up from the bottom and doing the same thing with the right side. So now we'll start with the left sort of leg and we're going to pull it up into the origami design that we've made. So pulling it up, sticking it up, and creating either our neck or our tail. And we'll do the same thing. So we're folding it up inside of the origami piece. We also want to make sure that these pieces aren't sticking straight up and down, that they're angled a little bit out on either side. Then we'll be taking one of them and folding the tip over itself to create a head like I'm doing on the right side right here to make a little crane head. Finally, all we have to do is pull out the wings again. I again like to fold them over on themselves to make them stay out more, and then you will have your paper crane, the slightly more complicated version. And here are your final products of the paper cranes. Origami.me is a great resource for different instructions so that you can try out different origami designs and increase your skills. Thanks so much everybody for watching. I hope you had some fun making some origami crafts and that you stay safe and healthy this summer. Bye!